They say 80% of the torque is available under 4,000 RPM. Okay, but it really gets going at 6,000 RPM. So how do you resolve this? And you'll discover, for example, there's footage of me riding in traffic and I'm in third gear at 14 kilometers an hour.
Okay.
And then when I open the throttle, it doesn't die, it just pulls. And there is crawl mode, remember, that they did on the Adventure. It is on this bike too, and I did stall this bike too initially again until I remembered that it'll come to a stop in fourth gear and not complain. But you can't take off in fourth gear. But you can take off in second if you want to, because there is torque.
Okay.
So I've ridden this motorcycle a little bit more sportily and very, very commuterly, and it works in both modes. So today I was coming here and I had my rain gear on and it wasn't raining and all of that. So I just sort of lost interest in trying to ride fast. I was just like, yeah, okay, I'll chill. You can chill in fourth gear at like 20 kilometers an hour. And the bike feels completely at home. In other people's stories, you will hear this idea saying it really gets going at 6. Yes, but it doesn't mean it's not going under 6. Under 6, it's a very peaceful, surprisingly commuter-friendly kind of motorcycle. And then at 6, it sort of wakes up and says, oh, you want to go? Let's go. And it gets loud. It gets shockingly loud. Like the airbox roar and all of that is right. It's the Generation 2, right? The design. It's right here. So here you go, oh, and you're like, this is a small bike and it's so cute. So even with my earplugs in, it's a loud motorcycle when you ride it fast.
Okay.
And you will find the limits of this motorcycle, at least from our perspective, because we ride faster machines than this. So highway cruise, 80 kilometers an hour, everything is smooth and settled. It feels like happy.
Okay.
From 80 onwards, there is just enough vibration starting up in the seat to let you know that you are coming close to the higher end of the performance curve. And to me, by about 103-4 kilometers an hour, just over 100, definitely under 105, the entire seat starts to vibrate in a way that tells you you're going fast. But at no point can I say the vibration is so much that this is an actual issue. So this is a smooth motor. And maybe the Yamaha is a little bit smoother than this, but now we are splitting hair because there is no objectionable vibration in this motorcycle to speak of.
So the 100 vibration that you're talking about?
Yeah, you can live with it quite peacefully on the highway, yeah. It's just 80 is noticeably smoother. 100 is noticeably like we are hard at work. And revs, I think 100 is 7,200 or something like that. So you know you're carrying a fair amount of revs, which I would because I'm used to it. But a new rider who's buying the Duke 160 for the first time, the fact that 80 is 6,000 in 6th gear, it just sound like, yeah, I'm willing to do this because that's just under the top peak.
Okay.
So I really enjoyed the motorcycle to the point where it gets loud enough for me to search for 7th gear now and then. Not because there's a sense of strain, but I'm like, oh, that's a lot of noise. And I really enjoyed the noise after a while.
And that noise is at what speed?
It starts at about 6 and then gets louder and sort of happier and more KTM-y as it were. Like, it's like, yeah, let's do this. And at the same time, I'm riding a 160 after a while, right? I normally ride 400. So to me, it's also like, oh, so cute. But if you're a new rider, I don't think you'll think of it as cute. I think it's a pretty exciting motorcycle while remaining a reasonably useful motorcycle. In all of this, no matter how hard I tried, I think the least economy I got was 34-35 kilometers an hour, kilometers per liter. And when I backed off, it immediately hit 39-40. Right? Okay. Which is also what the MT-15 and the R15 engines are very good at. Those engines produce remarkably good economy if you ride them really well. This KTM comes close. Is it 1-to-1 close? I think the KTM will be slightly behind. Flip side, the Yamahas accelerate to 60-100 slightly quicker maybe, but the KTM has a stronger mid-range. So the KTM does in-gear acceleration a little bit stronger. So it's a very closely matched pair. But the KTM feels shockingly light because of the unsprung mass having gone, because the handlebar is wide and you get leverage. And if you remember, in Gen 2, the motorcycle became more spacious, especially for the rider.
Yeah.
That's how this motorcycle also feels. So when I sit down on it, I'm 6 foot tall, I'm in full gear and everything. My first reaction is I'm walking up to a reasonably compact motorcycle. But when I sit down on it, do I feel like I'm cramped in any particular way? Not really. So I really had fun with this engine. It's a very sweet engine. And sweet is not a word we generally say about KTMs, but it is really sweet up to 6. And then it is like slightly old school but non-vibey, refined KTM above that. And I like that balance.
Okay. This is interesting because when you rode the bike in yesterday, and again, obviously we haven't discussed it, but when he rode in, the exhaust of that bike is so un-KTM, like at that speed when you just rolled into the office.
Yeah.
It's such a soft and gentle sounding bike. Like it feels like a calm and relaxing kind of bike. And
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to take a look at the bike.
Yeah.
And I did take a look at the bike. And the other thing that I thought looking at the bike was, this must be like a really flickable light kind of
Yeah,
bike.
so let's talk about the frame now. So it's the same frame. It has more or less the same parameters because the front end sort of is smaller. It has a slightly less rake angle. The trail is slightly lower. Unsprung mass is low. Lighter wheels. It's weightless, right? So it's sort of and predictably trustworthy, confident, good tires. It's got sintered. It's not got sintered pads in the front. It's got organic, but it is so light that even they work. So when they said this has organic brake pads in my head, I'm like, "Arey yaar, kyun? Why would you cut this corner?" And when you ride it, you're like, "No, actually we are okay. It's working. It's not a problem." And it's got a 320 mm rotor in the front. It doesn't need it. Like, so you've got wildly bigger hardware, and therefore you can run an inferior brake pad and get results.
Yeah.
So did I ever consider that this will not stop in the way that organic pads can sometimes feel? No, it feels completely normal. So through traffic, going around a thing, making lane changes, sweeping corners, it's completely weightless. Which is also how the MT-15 is.
Yeah.
But the MT-15 is a stiffer sprung motorcycle, and it feels stiffer and carries itself sort of higher in the stroke, as it were, with more damping. Bajaj is being very clever. If you remember, Gen 1 suspension was pretty raw. And Gen 2, they discovered the idea that if I make the initial stroke very soft, it absorbs a lot and gives you that sense of plushness. And then you can have a much sportier setting to back that up with. It's exactly the same.
Okay.
So when you hit the potholes on this bike, it almost feels like my tires are underinflated, and that's why I can't feel it so much.
Okay.
But when you pick up the pace, then it's got control, and it's so light and so controlled that after a while you're like, what a good setup. So it's not uncomfortable even from there.
The forks and all are the same diameter?
They're narrower now, 37 mm forks, whereas the larger KTMs get 43 mm forks. So they've reorganized this motorcycle.
But they did not use 37s, or were the 37s there on the 1
I
to 5?
don't remember clearly, but if my memory says all the KTMs had 43s.
Yeah, that's what even I remember.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing when looking at it, I thought that was...
These are 37s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, this is all weight control. Okay, they're saying bike is light, it doesn't need to do so much work. And then when you start putting it two and two together and saying, how does it affect your feeling of the motorcycle? It's a very nice motorcycle. So you can peacefully steer through traffic, no effort required. You can make fast lane changes if you need to, still no effort. And then when there a fast sweeping corner comes, where the opposite of this comes, where you're canted over and now you want stability from the motorcycle, sure, let's have stability. I like it.
The KTM 160 Duke is about 12 kilos lighter than the KTM 200 Duke. And that number really got my attention. We've really gotten into the details of the 160 Duke. It's there in the entire conversation. You've just seen a small clip of that, but you can find the entire conversation on the MotorInc app, where the motoring first of the KTM 160 Duke is playing.